Welcome to the No Fall Zone, the podcast that takes you inside the minds of FWT snowboarders and skiers. I'm your host, Dave Mailman, and together with longtime FWT photographer Dom Daer, we're going to lift the curtain and give you a glimpse into what life is really like for the Freeride World Tour riders. This podcast is made possible by Peak Performance. Thank you, guys.
3, 2, 1, drop in.
Our second guest on this season's No Fall Zone podcast skis to the beat of their own drum. 2024 will be this Lake Tahoe local's second year on tour after finishing fourth in 2021 as a rookie and missing out on 2022 due to an injury sustained the morning before the season's first event. With a third place and a win from only 5 events, expectations are high for this 21-year-old American shredder with an ever-increasing fan club. Now featuring in People Like Us, the soon-to-be-released documentary film by Ryan Colins that celebrates the queer snow sports community, this is Lily Bradley. Lily Bradley, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
It's awesome to have you here. So we're going to get straight into it. When the Freeride World Tour released the wildcard list for 2024 a few weeks ago, your name was on it because you missed 2023 due to injury. Did you expect to receive a wildcard, or was that kind of a surprise for you?
I was definitely hoping to receive a wildcard, but there's no set system. It's just people that they choose individually, so you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, didn't expect it. Really hoped for it, though.
Well, congratulations and welcome back on tour after the year off. On the new and improved freerideworldtour.com, in your bio, your bio says the resilient and cheerful Lily is gearing up for her return to the tour in the upcoming 2024 season, promising to bring her infectious energy back to the slopes. Does that kind of sum it up?
Did they actually write that? That's very kind of them. Maybe Justine wrote it.
That's why I wanted to get your opinion on that.
That seems a little overly flattering, but I'm going to take it. Yeah, that's me, overly infectious.
Fantastic. Sounds good. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on. So let's talk a little bit about what happened just before the start of the 2023 season. How'd you get hurt? Talk me through it.
We did have an injury this morning. Lily Bradley, just in training, doing a 360 and tweaking her knee.
I think it's all, you usually get hurt doing like the most dumbass things that a person can do. Usually not something cool, just something stupid. So what was I doing? I had just like one of the big Avi packs on, and it was filled with all my gear and stuff. And I really wanted to do a 3 off this wind lip in Bakura. And so before the first comp, I was like, just throwing 3s on groomers. And then I just did a 270 onto a groomer with a big backpack like 20 minutes before we were supposed to go up, and tore my MCL, which is it's just the most classic kind of injury to have. Just something so silly and mindless, not doing anything sick or cool. Just a 270 onto a groomer.
Fair enough. You're very philosophical about that right now, but what was your initial reaction to what was happening to you literally minutes before the first competition of the season?
I was definitely really disappointed. Yeah, I had a little cry in the medic tent, but the one of the medical guys was a total DILF, so it wasn't a complete waste of a day. And I wasn't too disappointed. I feel like in that mindset, you're so filled with anxiety, and you've just been like, your body's been like just filled with stress for weeks about this one thing. So I was definitely really disappointed, but then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to go up to that scary mountain. And so my brain was very, very sad, but my body was like, woohoo! Yeah, no stress. We're just going to chill out here and drink some beers. I was definitely a little bit sad though.
So that was getting ready for your what would have been your second season on tour. So you were feeling a bit of stress for season number 2, even though you'd already won event and had a podium in season number 1.
Yeah, I think, competition's just stressful, I think, for me at least.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning. You started skiing at age 2. Can you kind of talk me through the early days up through qualifying for the Freeride World Tour in 2022?
Yeah. I actually found out recently it was 1.5, which I'm like, you guys are psycho. That's too young. That's too young. That's not a person yet. But yeah, I did.
You've barely been walking for what? You've been walking for 6 months and you were already on skis?
No, exactly. Like, there's no way that you're skiing at 1.5. You're just like slouching on that little like backpack with the leash, and your parents are like, "All right, yeah, you're doing it, kid." You know, like, woohoo, best parent alive. But I am really grateful for my parents pushing me into sports at a young age. Let's think. I went through the all the little ski teams and stuff. I grew up in Tahoe City, so my parents are really embedded in the outdoor community, and I grew up surrounded by all these just sick mountaineers and old school legends. And I was just like, yeah, that's just Glenn, you know, he's a cool dude. We go to his Christmas parties. But yeah, it was a really cool place to grow up, because you're just constantly surrounding by all these ex-pro skiers and current pro skiers. And it's very normal. Everyone just like, yeah, I don't know, everyone's pretty chill here.
What do you think it is about Tahoe that makes? Why are there so many? I mean, born and raised and blow-ins, for lack of a better word. But I mean, the Tahoe is just packed with legends, from Tom Burt to Jackie Peso to you mentioned Glenn. I'm assuming that's Glenn Plake.
Oh, Glenn Poulsen, but yes, Glenn Plake also a legend. Glenn Plake also a legend. One I would love to have hair as iconic as his. Let's think what makes it's got all the sports. You got all the sports. You have beautiful seasons. It's not Colorado, so you're not freezing all the time. So it's just a very lovely place to live. And then also the resort terrain is incredible. It was like the freeride mecca, you know, during the McConkey era. So that really was a whole scene that just like blossomed into this. I don't know. It became a super great place to be a free rider, a backcountry skier, a climber, a mountain biker, a paddleboarder, just any sport that you want to do. It's a lovely place to do. So yeah, I grew up with a lot of great iconic coaches. Like Kevin O'Meara was my coach for a bit, and you're just like, that's just some dad. And then that dad is like hucking backies, and you're like, I'm going to be like that dad someday. Yeah, I don't know. So that was a great experience. And then I went to qualifiers when I was in, my freshman year of college. It was during COVID. And I was super down. I was very depressed. And my parents were like, oh, well, help pay for you to go to some ski comps and you can go on a road trip with your friends. And I was like, that sounds way more fun than being in school. So I was just going to go on a road trip and have some fun experiences. I was not looking to qualify. That did not seem within the realm. Wasn't even on the agenda or a possibility. But I'd been competing a lot as a kid, and I had a lot of experience picking out lines and stuff, and then I accidentally did really well. And then all of a sudden at the end, I was like, oh no! Okay, new life path. Let's go.
Because you actually won region 2. You won the Americas region that season.
Yes. Yeah, there was a lot of incredible women in that. Molly Armenio was my icon that year. She was so fun to ski with. She really inspired me. So there was a lot of incredible women in that field that year. I did not expect to go in and win, but I was really grateful for the opportunity. And
similar to your rookie year on tour, you had a first and a third. You won the Big Sky 4-star and you got third at Crested Butte. Did that first win kind of give you a taste for victory and you wanted more, or was it just kind of like, oh, cool?
It was more of an, oh, cool. Honestly, the third, I got like getting third in, I think, Andorra.
Crested Butte. Third in Andorra, yeah.
Yeah, in Andorra.
No,
I was like,
it was third in
it.
Andorra the first year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, this is the best day of my life. Nothing will ever top this. And then, and then we went to kicking course and I was like, no, this is the best day. So I don't think it gave me like a taste for victory, but it was super sick.
Awesome. No, that's fantastic. Hey, so that kicking horse run, I mean, the conditions were not fantastic. You skied an awesome run given what was on offer on that day in Canada. But how did, as far as like your life's worth of runs in your young life, because there's going to be plenty more that hopefully will be way better in the future. But how does that run rate in the grand scheme of things in Lily Bradley's skiing career so far?
I was actually reflecting on this, trying to think about it. And to be completely honest, I think my best run was this random run I had when I was like 13 at Alpine. So, I mean, it was a fun run. It was a good kicking horse run. A 13-year-old Lily definitely went a little bigger. So I look back and I think some of my old school Lily definitely charged pretty hard.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get back to old school Lily because we kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. But quick recap, so 2021 qualified, kind of accidental qualifier. And while you were attending UC Berkeley, so have you graduated or are you still a college student?
I'm going to be a super, super, super senior, because, no.
A sixth year senior?
Oh boy, will I. I think I just finished the second part of my sophomore year. So I just hit the middle mark.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so
it's okay. I was a sixth year senior at UCLA, so it's all good.
That makes me feel much better. I feel very seen. Thank you, Dave.
All good. My pleasure. So how do you balance skiing with studying at one of America's premier universities?
Oh, yes, one of America's top public universities. How do I balance it? I just split my time. I do a fall semester, and then I go and I do my skiing, take the winter off, like a lot of people in Freeride, and then I go and take a bunch of courses over the summer.
Okay, so you don't ski in the summer. I heard you have a thing for New Zealand.
Oh, yes, I did go to New Zealand. Jess Hodder helped me organize a summer training trip, and I was living in Wanaka in this awesome house, and I got to go, shred the New Zealand almost POW for a winter and absolutely loved it. Or for summer there.
So it's not a yearly thing.
No, I've decided that my complexion can't take 2 winters in a row. I'm just simply too pale.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll give that one to you.
No, it was money.
You're not big on the raccoon
expensive.
face year round, right?
No, it's the goggle tan, man. I can't do it.
Awesome. All right. And I know as well that you've said that the circle of friends on the Freeride World Tour and the circle of friends at Berkeley aren't quite the same as well. So how is it kind of jumping from different social circles as well?
It's a little like having 2 identities, which I think is a common experience for like a lot of queer people who do sports. Yeah, I don't know. In Berkeley, I have a lot of, there's like the queer, anarchist, leftist, rah, let's go to punk shows and go read essays about political economy. And then there's the skier scene, which is a lot more laid back. And we're chilling and we're here to appreciate life. And we're here to appreciate the beauty of nature and the experience of the human body and go partying. But I really do. I love having a winter community. It fills me with a lot of joy to come back to that scene and then just remember that I always have a group of people, this whole community and world of people who have the same, similar mindset, as me and enjoy being in nature. Yeah, it's definitely kind of isolating sometimes to not have a queer community in my sport community, but it is lovely to go and just be with motivated people who want to just be outside all the time.
So, I mean, in your film and in a couple interviews, you've said that I guess it's a really underground queer community in winter sports or queer adjacent. I'm using the quotes there because I don't know exactly what queer adjacent means, to be perfectly honest with you. But I mean, on tour, you've obviously Elizabeth is out about being lesbian. But how? Yeah, it's really totally different. I mean, you talk about feeling isolated on tour. Is there really no support whatsoever for the queer person that you are within the Freeride World Tour structure?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think that there are a lot of queer people on the tour. I don't want to accidentally out anyone, so I'm not going to name a bunch of names.
No, fair enough. Like I said, we only talk about the people who are already out themselves, so it's all good.
Yeah, I don't know. Being in any kind of sport atmosphere, usually those atmospheres have a lot of, they're built in patriarchy, which doesn't mean that everyone has patriarchal values, but the system that that community is built in, it's not a queer space, and there's a lot of toxic masculinity and a lot of internalized misogyny and open misogyny. Not that everyone on the tour explicitly is that way, but that's just kind of the nature of outdoor spaces, is that it's just a different culture. So it's not that there's no support. I met a lot of incredible people on the tour, a lot of lovely queer people, and a lot of great men, a lot of incredible straight women. But it's just different.
No, fair enough. It's maybe hasn't evolved quite as much as say in surfing or even in snowboarding circles. I know in freestyle snowboarding, it was one question I wanted to ask you. I looked on your Instagram feed, and there's a picture of you from behind showing your guns and talking about how earlier you felt like you needed to really show the masculine side of yourself. And it reminded me a lot of Shereel Moss, who from the Netherlands, who's a really awesome snowboarder who's been out of the closet for years. My background is, even though I'm not at all a good freestyle snowboarder, but I've worked in the industry for a long time. And so it seems like there's been girls who've been out in freestyle snowboarding and surfing for ages. So it's funny that now it's kind of, the conversation is coming around through the Freeride World Tour. I mean, we did Elizabeth in the first episode, and now with you, we've got two out of the closet athletes on tour. But I guess, I think the Freeride World Tour, or the Freeride World maybe, or the ski community at least, is a little bit behind things compared to surfing or snowboarding.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Well, listen, while we're on the subject, tell me a little bit about People Like Us. Your film, or the film that you take part in. At first, you're like, oh, Lily's done a film. And actually, you are one of the many people who have a part in what is really a fantastic documentary.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I thought it was also incredibly well done. People Like Us is a film with Ryan Colins and Nat Segal, who produced and made it. And it's a film to highlight life as a queer person, trans person, non-binary person. There's a bunch of different perspectives.
Historically, rural areas aren't the safest places for queer people. As a queer person in a small town, it can often feel like you're in it alone. There was a while there where I thought that Joe and I were the only queer men in town. Thanks, Joe. And the more that I settle into this community, the more I've been asking myself what it is about towns like this that can often be so uncomfortable for people like us.
That people usually don't hear about in sports media. Sports media usually doesn't have a storyline. I think that's definitely changing in the new wave of film that's coming. But it's meant to be a storyline-driven film to just, talk about different people's experiences as different intersecting modes of queerness and identity and race and that kind of stuff.
No, it was really cool. I like the fact as well that it wasn't just focused on like professional athletes. It really runs the gamut of, well, from Ryan, who's a professional photographer, all the way to the crew that organizes, and I'm forgetting the name, but there's the queer mountain sports day at the end, which is it was really feel good film. I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, if anyone wants to feel good, see some sick skiing, I would recommend giving it a watch. Yeah, that program you're talking about is it's Open Slopes. Open Slopes. I forget the last two letters, but yeah, it's a queer accessibility program, and it was created by an internet friend of mine, Hank Stowers, who is also in the film. They are a super rad genderqueer skier. And yeah, that was just meant to just show how queer community can build accessibility, and that skiing isn't necessarily all about showcasing who's the sickest, who's the raddest, but that any kind of media can empower accessibility and try and get more people into sports.
Fantastic. No, it's great. It's something you were talking about there. It's not always about, the best people out there. There's a saying in surfing that the best surfer in the lineup is the one having the most fun. And I think that that really came across well in that film. And just an aside, I'd never heard of Hank before, but absolutely fantastic. I started following them on Instagram, viewing the film, and yeah, it was a eye-opening experience for me.
Yes, Hank's TikTok is an eye-opening experience.
I haven't been on the TikTok yet. My kids, I'm going to tell them to follow Hank on TikTok. Actually, I don't do TikTok. I'm showing my age there, but I did check out their Instagram, and yeah, very, very cool. So I'm going to get the kids on that one.
Yeah, the yassification of Freeride.
No, seriously cool. I'd love to see them get a wild card to the tour, or maybe at least an event wild card one of these days. That would be something.
Yeah, Hank would slay. Big up and comer.
So, what did you think? How did you imagine the Freeride World Tour experience to be before you qualified? Was it what you expected, or was it something completely different?
Well, let's think. I expected it to be more structured. It was definitely very well run, well organized. The athletes are loose, though. They're there on the agenda to have a good time. Everyone takes their sport very seriously, and I didn't expect there to be so much camaraderie. I kind of in my head was like, all right, like you're going to compete against these athletes. Don't get too close. I don't know. I thought it was going to be a lot more competitive in an aggressive way, but it was really just like, oh, what a great experience we're all having. It's so cool to do this together. Yeah, I expected it. I didn't know it was going to be so fun. Did
you follow the tour before you hit the Freeride World Qualifier circuit, or was it just kind of like you said, mom and dad said, let's get you out of the house and get you out on some contests, but you weren't really a fan of the tour before you actually showed up?
Yeah, that's correct. I definitely didn't watch the tour every year. I would watch like when a friend or a friend of a friend was on the tour, we would watch their run. And I watched, I don't know, some old school footage of women being sick and Jackie Peso and.
Okay, all right, that's interesting to know. For me, I've been there since day one, the first Verbier Extreme. So my entire career, I've been, kind of swimming in it for lack of a better expression, I guess. And I am actually, I don't even know, a 25-year fanboy of the tour and the Extreme now. So, but yeah, it's interesting to know that you were surprised by how much fun it is to participate in life on tour, on the slopes, in the competitions, but also outside of it as well. And do you agree with Andrew Pollard when he says that the best skiing on tour actually goes down outside of the competition or competitions?
I've seen the biggest stuff go down outside of the contest.
Oh my gosh, yeah. In the few days before, ripping runs with like the best skiers in the world. Yeah, Formula 1, absolutely shredding the groomers. In a line, there's like 15 athletes just like bombing the hill. There's all these Europeans in their slalom skis, like, yeah, you can see their heads like rotate around the chairlift when they see this like group go by. It's super sick. I got to ski with some of the biggest groups of shredder women. I'd never skied with a big group of women who can all go so hard. That was the most fun for sure, was the skiing outside the tour. Well said, Andrew.
Awesome. Good deal. So how long did it take you to adapt to tour life in your rookie year?
Well, I had to start liking beer. Big adjustment. What else? How
What'd
long
you
did it
drink
take me to
before
adjust?
that? What's your go-to drink?
What's my go-to drink? Literally anything but beer. But yeah, I'm a European girly now, so love Zabrewskis. Yes, love Zabrewskis. Yeah, Europeans are really good at drinking beer. That was a huge adjustment. No, but let's think. For realsies, probably just stress management. That was the biggest adjustment, being really on mental health and taking care of my body and mind.
Do you work with a mental coach or a coach at all? Or did you just kind of do it yourself?
I have a super sick therapist. I do not have a sports coach. I did the first year I was talking to a sports psychiatrist who was really cool. And yeah, I would recommend if anyone, struggles with stress, anxiety, sports performance, it really helps to change your mental schema to talk to someone. Talking, getting help, a lot of journaling, taking alone time, not always feeling pressured to participate in social activities, I think was really important. Just being able to go back to your room, roll out, do stretching, meditate or something.
Sounds good. And now that you're coming back after a year off, are you approaching this coming season any differently than your preparation for your rookie year or your second year, which didn't actually happen?
Yeah, well, I'm doing lots of knee exercises, let me tell you. Not this year, 360s.
I bet you are.
Not this year. Yeah, I'm coming back from a knee injury, so I'm doing just so much PT, physical therapy, and I don't know, I'm trying to come in with less pressure, just because coming off an injury, you're not going to be skiing at the same level that you are usually. I'm not even off groomers yet, and I'm really hoping to be at the level that I want to be by the time the tour starts, but I also know that it's not super safe to push yourself beyond your limits when your body isn't ready. So I'm just trying to get nice and mentally stable. I think the different things that I'm doing, I'm just working out way more than I did the years before.
Now that's interesting. Even though it is a fun place and a party place, and in the past, obviously everyone was just getting ready to ride, and be it in the days of the extreme or since 2008 when the tour started, it's, a lot of athletes, it was just, we go hike, we ride. That's how we get ready to do what we do. And now, injured or not, the preseason training is pretty much, I think, part of everyone's schedule, even if they're having a good time on the weekends.
Mm-hmm. The October squats. Long live the October squats.
Sounds good. Now, do you have a travel partner on tour? You talked about Molly earlier. Is there like a Tahoe crew that kind of gets together, like the Wolf Pack back in the day, or are you a lone wolf?
I was planning on traveling alone for definitely the first leg of the tour. I love traveling alone. You can do your own agenda. And you're like, I'm going to the drag bar now. Goodbye, nobody. I'm on my own program. I was planning on traveling with some of the Tahoe people, the new riders, Taylor Dobbins, Colton Shaft, Kendall. Oh gosh, I can't remember his last name right now. So planning on traveling with some Americans for the Georgia competition. I don't know. A lot of my friends that I'd made on the tour didn't make it back this year, who I would have traveled with. So I'm just hoping to make some new friends at the first stop, and then probably, travel later on together.
Because, I mean, it's kind of, I guess everyone shows up, well, if they can, depending on the waiting period, a little bit early. So, I mean, everyone kind of hangs, I guess, depending on the stop, but everyone's kind of in the same hotels and stuff. So it just naturally, I guess, you all gravitate to the same place once you are wherever the next stop is, I guess.
Yeah, it's all about who has the rental car and how many people fit in that rental car. And yeah, who can be squeezed into the rental car.
Sounds good. So you mentioned Georgia, which is a new stop on tour this year. I mean, you've only had one season, so it's not like, oh, I've kind of getting sick of going to this place or that place or whatever. But I mean, are you excited to be going to a place like Georgia, which is a first Freeride World Tour first in 2024?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I've been watching random ski videos online. That place looks bonkers, insane, so gorgeous. I think it'll be a really unique place to travel too. Very different from the rest of the stops.
No, it should be interesting. So in your first year on tour, what did you think of the different stops Becerra, obviously, I think you finished 7th, I believe. If memory serves, you had a bit of a crash or some control issues. And kind of talk me through quickly through the different stops on that first year. And then I'm waiting to hear what you thought of your first trip down the Bec de Os.
Ha ha ha. Yeah. The first year we went to Becerra, Spain, which is in Catalonia. Catalan is such a cool part of Spain. It's got a really unique history of anarchist resistance and independent culture, which was really, really cool. Lots of beautiful countryside to roll through. And then the second stop was in Andorra, which is a very strange country, in my personal opinion. It's so weird. It's just this weird urban tax haven in the middle of this beautiful landscape. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at those sheep and those beautiful ponies. The city is just super strange. But I got a cheap MRI there. So I guess shout out to their, little mecca of industrialized society.
System. Yeah, indeed. You summed it up well. And then Kicking Horse, Canada. I mean, what's not to love about British Columbia?
What's not to love it? It's the most beautiful place on earth. And Canadians are so chill. They're so polite. Everyone's just, a big chiller in Canada. And then we were there for Golden. There was this really cool community festival the night after the tour, which was just exceptional. There was jugglers and this huge bonfire where people were burning children's dreams. That sounds weird. People wrote dreams on a slip and they put them in the fire. It was a beautiful ceremony. And handmade puppets. So we happened to be there during a really cool community celebration. Let's see, Kicking Horse, super sick, great terrain. And then let's see, what are the next two? What does it go after that?
Fieberbrunn and then Verbier.
Yes, Fieberbrunn. Trying to remember what Austria was like. I feel like they're all blending together.
They have a way of doing that.
Yeah, the Alps, all of the Alps in Austria and Switzerland makes you feel like a tiny little ant in the most beautiful way. I'd never got to experience that feeling before, so that was really cool. I don't really remember much from Austria, to be honest.
You got 4th place. No, it's all good. You got 4th. You stuck a big, I think you hit the Heusel cliff.
As she takes a new line for run 2.
Yeah, Lily changing things up. She went way out to the right in the first run, and now she is above the Heusel cliff. This thing is a mandatory, so once you get to here, you are committed, and she's catching this angle that should work out for her. Absolutely stomped there for Lily Bradley.
Stoked to see it.
Oh yeah, the Heusel cliff. Okay, yeah. You know what? I do remember Austria because I had kind of watched the tour, but when you watch the tour, they really zoom in on that top part of the face, and they're like, oh, you're just traversing. Look at these guys traversing. Why don't you do some tricks or something, dude? And then being there, you're traversing. I get there, I'm like, so is that 60 feet of exposure usually there? And they're like, yeah, this is how we do it. You traverse over the exposure, yeah. That was really, I was not ready for that. Yeah, so you go for this like huge waistband of exposure, and some people are like popping little tricks off the top, and I was like, no, I'm keeping my feet on the ground. I'm just a little American. I wasn't ready for this. Yeah, hit the hoist cliff. Sick cliff. I love a mandatory air. Really forces you to stomp your best stomp. And then yeah, that was a fun.
And
that was
then
a fun
you traversed
comp.
left, you hit the wind lip, got a couple ones down the bottom, and no, it was a good comp. It's always a good comp, no matter what the conditions are like. The Wildseeloader always is an interesting offers up interesting results from a competition standpoint. That's for sure. And then the Bec des Roses, then it was off to Verbier, where you only finished 5th. So I think you're going to have some making up to do in 2024. I'm assuming you qualify, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, how was it standing up on that ridge, looking down at the crowd over on the Col des Gentianes, and knowing that you'd made the grand finale?
I would be happy to never ski that face again. To be honest, what an incredible opportunity. Really grateful to have that experience. That was bonkers terrifying. My mom was at the bottom, and I knew that she was going to be in tears. It's very humbling to be at the top. It's very high stakes and super steep. And you like look over the edge and you're like, I'm going down that you can see every single, it's so steep. You can see yeah. I had never skied anything that steep before in my life. So I was honestly stoked with how that comp went. I didn't fall in the no fall zone. And I came out in one piece. So I was super jazzed.
That sounds about right. I agree with you. I was at the top the first year that I worked the Extreme, interviewing athletes before they dropped in. I'm not going to go into details of any story, but I literally though people are standing on the rocks looking down the face trying to scope their lines, and I was holding on to the start gate just going, oh please let me make it down. I went all the way down the back of the Col des Gentianes and just rode the groomers where they have the Freeride junior competition, and even that was scary enough for me. So I totally feel you on the Beck effect.
The Beck effect. Yeah, super
Beck
gnarly.
effect. There you go. Just coined a new term. We've touched a little bit on it, but we're going to go completely off tangent here now. Do you consider yourself an activist? And if yes, what are you vocal about? What causes do you fight for?
I don't know if I'm a true activist. I don't dedicate as much of my time as I should to causes that I care about. But I would say I'm an activist in the sense that I am very vocal, and I do like to support with money and time.
I was about to say you might not be an activist, but you are very vocal about your opinions.
Yeah, I think the things that I'm passionate about are snow sports accessibility is huge, like the decolonization of the ski industry as like a forefront mission to accessibility. Skiing is, it's really fun. It's built on a lot. It's built on white supremacy. It's built on the exclusion of people of color. It's built on the exclusion of people of low income people. So I think that, yeah, one thing I'm very passionate about is giving money to and uplifting and giving time to organizations that try to make skiing a more inclusive place. And it's not just about changing the industry, but it's about giving, the experience of nature. Yeah, snow sports accessibility, getting people of color, getting queer people, getting low-income people, getting kids who usually wouldn't have access to sports into sports.
Yeah, giving them the opportunity to experience the outdoors.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It can change your life.
Indeed, as it has helped changed yours. You've grown up in it, but it's definitely helped you through some difficult moments, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Having access to nature is a huge privilege, and I think a lot of people in sports, we take that privilege for granted. But yeah, I think the ski industry is changing. A lot of companies are trying to put more money and more time into programs that are kind of challenging the ski industry and the exclusion that it's built on.
What do you think that the ski industry is doing well? What does that change look like?
What does that change look like? I think that change...
And what could they do better, perhaps?
I think that this might sound a little silly, but I think that a lot of brands they give a lot of money and resources to people who already have the privilege of skiing, to their top athletes. And so this might go against, like, I think what a lot of athletes, would say, but I think that it needs to shift from, pouring money and gear, and opportunities just to the people who, help market a brand. So to the pro skiers and the climbers, and shifting away from that. Just putting money that has been accumulated into programs that already exist that is making skiing more inclusive.
And by doing that, in the end, they'd be increasing their client base as well.
Yeah. That is one way to look at it. Yeah.
Just from a completely capitalist standpoint, because at the end of the day, most of the companies are in it to make more money, I guess, unless there's obviously some out there where it's not all about the bottom line. It's also about having fun and supporting people. But at the end of the day, the wider we can open the doors, the better a place it is for everyone involved.
Yeah. And that whole idea of like capital accumulation that, the industry is built on, brands accumulating capital and expanding their market and, that kind of stuff. That it is not just responsibility of brands and organizations, but of individuals, that we do have power to use our time, our labor power, our money to make the world a little bit different. The system isn't going to be broken. The capitalist system that excludes minorities and, doesn't uplift women or people of color isn't really going to be broken by companies that profit. So it's a collective action problem. And it will take, grassroots kind of organizing to make programs and, get the support.
No, and it's a great organic way as well for brands to grow by supporting grassroots movements and like I said, opening the door to a larger public. Especially with the environment the way it is nowadays, and less snow on the planet potentially coming into the future. Want to kind of make it as accessible to everyone, and I mean, might be a bit a selfish way to think about it, but bringing as many people to sharing the wealth with as many people as possible is definitely a way to help companies grow in a positive manner, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem of exclusion is huge. It's what the industry, it's what the ski industry is. Movements against climate change are always going to have to be rooted in decolonization. So it's just everything is interconnected. You know what I mean?
I do indeed. And it's a huge topic and probably one that we could do an entire podcast about. Unfortunately, I'm going to just put my hand up and admit it that I am not informed enough to lead that discussion properly. So unless you have some other talking points on that one, I'm going to say we can move on to something else. But I mean, I know it is very important to you, and it is a very important topic. So if there are some other things that you'd like to say on that subject, I'm all for it.
No, that's not, I can go and spew my radical ideology somewhere else. Thanks for the platform.
No, it's not a problem, and that might be something that they decide to edit out or not. Who knows? We'll see when the final product comes out.
Yeah,
I'm just scrolling down.
Sounds likely.
All right. So do you have any specific goals for your time on tour, like winning the title or winning Verbier, or is it all just about having a good time?
My specific goals, I want to have like one run that I'm really proud of. There's a lot of, what's her name? Manon Loski.
The girl's name was Manon. and she liked orange ice cream cones.
She is super badass. I don't know if I'm going to compare to all the other athletes this year. And I'm not trying to set that expectation up. I just want to my goal is to have one run where I get to the bottom and I'm like, yeah, that was the biggest cliff I've ever hit. And I absolutely slayed that. So just having one run where I feel really stoked on what I did.
Any idea where that run might happen?
Only time will tell. Only time will tell. I don't want to jinx anything.
So we touched on the resorts that you competed in your first year. We've got Georgia that's new on tour this year. Are there any other places where you think the Freeride World Tour should run an event that they haven't, or other places that maybe they should go back to? Squaw, for example?
Oh, I mean, it would be sick to have a local competition. And I'll pitch Palisades. So we have an incredible fan base. You think that the people at Backyara are incredible? Wait till you come to Palisades. We will be building snow benches. We will be streaming banners. We will be drinking till dawn. We have an incredible crowd that will uplift every athlete, and also radical terrain. Yeah, Palisades would be sick. It'd be cool to compete in the hometown. I would love to go to Japan though. That would be super awesome if they were to go back to Japan at some point.
I'm sure they would love to, and I'm sure that their Nicola Howlwoods is probably working on that as we speak. Because the events in Japan, the qualifier as well as the Freeride World Tour event were absolutely incredible, and I know the athletes who took part in those definitely would enjoy going back. In spite of the difficulty of finding the weather window, because when it does break, that powder is absolutely amazing, and some really incredible riding went down in Japan back in the day. That is for sure. Okay, let's talk about some other stuff that is completely not Freeride World Tour oriented at all. I hear you're a bit of a punk rocker.
Sure. Is
that true, or are you just a punk spirit, or do you actually enjoy the full punk rock scene? Do you get in the mosh pit and go crazy? I know you got blue hair. Is your hair blue right now?
Yeah, great guess. It is blue right now.
Well, yeah, what color is your hair right now, Lily?
Yeah, it's like we got some blue, a little bit of green, blue-green. Yeah, I do love the punk rock scene. Living in Berkeley, like the East Bay has a sick hardcore and punk scene. And specifically a really, really cool queer punk scene, which I think that queer and punk, you don't need to specify it's a queer punk scene. Every punk scene is inherently queer, in my opinion. I do. I love the pit. Love to go to the pit. Love to rage. It's a great release of energy. It's like, I don't know, everyone has all of these emotions and pain from being a human in a capitalist world. And then you get to go and then punch people about it in a positive way and go dance. So
it's awesome. Who are some of your favorite bands?
Oh, some of my favorite bands. I think some of my favorite local bands from the East Bay. I love Mommy Mommy, Rat Fuck. I really like Malpractice. They do some really sick shows. I don't know. I like old school stuff, Suicidal Tendencies, Misfits. Low-key, System of a Down goes really hard. I know that it's cringe. I don't care. I think it's awesome.
I'm with you on that one. No problem.
I do like loud music. Huge fan of loud music.
So when do you listen to tunes during your runs?
Oh wow, great segue question. I do not listen to tunes during my runs. I listen to music every time I ski, but I kind of black out when I'm in my run. And I'm so focused that I'm afraid I would get distracted. Sometimes I'll listen to the marimba ringtone when someone calls me mid-run, but that's pretty much it.
All right. So you're not headbanging your way down on the mountain during contest runs.
I always listen to Kiss Me More by Doja Cat before a run. Get a little slutty with it, bust out the moves, shake some ass. Get in a good mindset, but no, not during my run.
Awesome. Sweet. Good deal. And I heard that you have a leopard gecko.
This is the most well-researched interview I've ever done. You're on it, Dave. I do. I have a leopard gecko. Her name is Peaches. they're great pets. She's non-binary, I've decided, because I don't know what their gender is, because apparently they're really hard to figure out what their sex is. And then I also decided, it's a lizard. It doesn't need a gender. Yeah, she's great. She's chill. I accidentally brought her to the library last week. I had her in my hood when I was studying, and then I went to the library. I studied for 4 hours, and then all of a sudden I felt like someone scratching at my neck, and I was like, oh my God. But I didn't get in trouble. There wasn't a no lizards policy, and she had a great time.
Oh, that's awesome. She was hiding in your hood. That's what they do. They hide and they go to sleep. So
yeah, she's super good at hiding and sleeping. Top strengths of lizards.
Yeah, indeed, especially leopard geckos. I know my son has one, so ours is Ziggy, and I concur that sexing them is a very difficult thing to do. We took ours to the vet. Even the vet couldn't figure out if Ziggy was a boy or a girl. So.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh, that's so cute. They should be friends. We can set up a play date.
Oh,
they might eat each other. Don't they do that though? You're not supposed to have two because they eat each other.
I have heard that is the general consensus. Although I've heard I've heard a little bit that possibly having if you've put two in the cage together from a young age, that it can work out. But I'm not going to try it because one is enough. Lovely creatures, but when you have they still need taking care of. So I think one is good, and I don't want to have two separate leopard gecko cages if they ended up not getting along.
Yeah, no, they do take up a lot of space for sure.
Indeed. All right, but they are fantastic little creatures. Okay. On to a completely another subject. Are you a gear geek?
I don't know. I don't want to call myself.
The question's about ski gear, but you could be other gear as well. But from a ski standpoint, are you all geeky about your gear?
I mean, I don't want to call myself a gear geek because I feel like people will expect me to know some technical knowledge. But boy, oh boy, I love being at a function with a bunch of people who ski and then talking about bindings. Oh, it's just something about it. I do love talking about gear, and I do enjoy having my specific gear that I like. I wouldn't say I'm an industry guru. I don't know all the stuff. Yeah, what's my gear? What's my kit this year?
Well, do you get involved in the design process with the brands, or do you just take whatever your team managers give you and say, okay, that's cool, and we're ready to go?
Oh, I say free bindings. Yeah, sounds great, man. No, I do. I've always wanted to get. Actually, yeah, I did get a little bit involved. They let me design a modified Commander, which is the ski that Moment Skis makes specifically for Freeride hardcore geeks, I guess. They let me. Yeah, they cast a new ski. In a different size than they had made before and kind of altered it to what I wanted, which was super sick. Didn't get to ride it much because I immediately blew my knee out, but those 3 days, whoo, great ski. Thanks for all of that hard work. Sorry I didn't ski it more. Yeah, I don't know, bit of a gear geek.
Do you have a specific setup for contest and then for when you're just messing around, or different skis, or is there any difference in your setup between when you're competing and just when you're skiing for fun?
Yeah, I ride the Moment Wildcat when I'm having fun because I'm here for the tail presses, I'm here for the butters, I'm here for just the fun ski, haha, yeehaw, good time. We're getting wiggy. And then for competition, you got to go beast mode, heavy ski. Just blow through that European cement chunder. So I ride the Commander for competition, which is not a ski that I would ever ride. It's not super playful. So yeah, playful for fun skiing, and then hardcore, super heavy. It weighs 40 pounds. You're gonna have to check it separately because it weighs too much kind of ski.
Do you have different styles of skiing in competition and outside of competition? It definitely sounds like it.
I don't know. It depends how incredibly anxious I am. Sometimes in competition, I forget to have fun, and I'll just be like, hit the cliff. You go. This is your landmark. Find the tree. Go. That's great. That's great. Turn. Stomp. Great job. So I don't know. I think the less in my head I am, the more I ski my true self.
If I'm understanding correctly, when you ski better, when you're able to just kind of let go and go with the flow, does the pressure lift off your shoulders easily once you drop in or not?
Yeah, as long as my goal is ski fast, have fun, as long as I'm trying to do that, I feel like once you drop in, it's like, bam, your brain is blank. It's just you. You're just skiing. Is it scary skiing? Yes.
So if you were not a touring professional, what would you be doing?
Smoking more weed.
Legal in California.
Yeah, gosh darn right it is, baby. What would I be doing if I wasn't? I would be skiing. I'd probably just still be skiing. I don't think I would be taking winters off. Who knows? I might, you know what? I would probably be like graduating by now. Maybe I'd be in the tech scene or like working at a startup. Maybe I would be a working professional and I've like started my own nonprofit. But probably not. I'd probably just be smoking more weed and skiing for funsies.
Awesome. So this is a question that Dom came up with for our interview with Elizabeth, but I kind of liked it. What is your relationship with skiing like?
What is my relationship with skiing like? I'd say it is the biggest tool for my mental health that I've ever had. It's a connection with nature that is very intrinsic. And it was like the first exploration of gender identity for me, in the way that when you ski, it's just your body. You are just fully in tune with your body. And there's no social pressures or societal pressures. And it's just you appreciating your time with trees and snow and going fast and feeling brain chemicals that make you feel good. And yeah, it was the first exploration of gender identity in the sense that, I've always had like an inherent masculinity, but yeah, I don't know, in my young adulthood, it was the first place that I got to experience like a genderless form, if that makes sense. Like I identify as genderqueer. I don't really identify as a woman anymore. And I didn't really know that when I was younger, but I still experience, I'm sure gender dysphoria, and the feeling that your body is perceived in the way that it's not right. You don't want your body to be perceived. And so, you wear like baggy clothing and masculine clothes. I wore baggy clothing, masculine clothes. I went through a heavy tomboy phase. And skiing, you can just buy men's clothes and you can tuck your hair in and you look like a boy. You're a refrigerator shape. That's not a girl. That's a refrigerator. So I didn't have the language for it at the time. But yeah, that was my first experience of gender euphoria, was the feeling of having, no binary gendered body, and experiencing. Yeah.
How old were you when you first, came to the realization, or when you first had the feeling that you weren't like all the other kids?
I think, sexuality and gender can be very fluid. I think if you're on the queer spectrum, it's not like you're like, one day you're like, and now I have decided I am this.
That's not where I was. That's not where I was coming from. I mean,
oh yeah,
I think
absolutely.
You realize there's really girly girls and there's really masculine, boys. And for you, you obviously had a feeling that you weren't a girly girl and you weren't a super masculine guy. And did you have a realization, or is it just kind of that's the way you've always been?
Kind of the way. I think I realized that I was queer, like gay, a lot sooner than I realized about gender stuff. I don't know, Miss Andrighetto, the hot librarian who wore cheetah print outfits, shout out to her. You did some work. You really helped open my eyes. God, I hope she doesn't listen to this.
I hope she does.
I don't know. I figured out I was like queer, like sexuality was queer from a pretty young age, like 13 or so. And then, I don't know, in like a binary gendered society, it feels like it's difficult. It was really, really difficult for me to feel valid in taking up space on the trans spectrum, just because, I don't know, I don't identify as like trans in the binary way. I'm like, I I'm not a trans man. Like that's not what I want. But there's only two distinct categories that, white heteropatriarchy kind of enforces on the world. So I don't know. I had a really hard time with coming to the gender thing. I came to the sexuality thing a lot sooner because that one's a lot more clear cut. You're like, yeah, man, I feel attraction towards women. Done. That's easy. And then I'm like, oh, shoot. Check that box. Done. And then I'm like, oh, gosh, but I think I might also be poly. And you're like, oh, gosh. And then you're like, oh, wait, I think I'm also non-binary. And you're like, oh. So it's just, I don't know. I think gender is an exploration and sexuality is an exploration. There's never, you're kind of unpacking it for the rest of your life if you identify on the queer spectrum. And I'm sure I will come to some more conclusions in the future. But it's, kind of just the acceptance that there doesn't have to be a binary box, that no category has to be forever, no category has to be all encompassing, but that you can just find yourself along the way.
Perfect answer. So how do people react when you tell them you're a professional? Do you get a weirder response from people like in a bank or maybe at the tax office when you tell them you're a professional freerider, or from straight cisgender people when you tell them that you're a non-binary lesbian?
IDK, man. That's a weird question. I actually I try not to tell. I'm more closeted as an athlete, I would say, than I am. I'm pretty open about my gender and my sexuality. But I try not to tell people I'm a professional. That feels really like, yeah, look at my dick. It's huge. Yeah, I'm pretty sick, aren't I? I try to not go spraying that around. But people are like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, in the wintertime, I do some ski competitions. Yeah. I don't know. I try not to be a dick about it.
No, that's cool. There's another question that we had for Elizabeth, and I just thought I'd throw that one out there for you as well, because over here, like, in Switzerland or, in Europe in general, there's and profession and what do you do and this, that, and another thing. And when you go in and actually tell people that you're a professional athlete is one thing that's expected, but a professional freerider, it's like a professional what?
Yeah, it is
what
niche.
What do you do? Even in Switzerland, where mountain sports are huge, she's still people are still like, do you think that that's really something that you should be doing? Do you have any profession, any future in that profession? What do you do afterwards? It's that kind of reaction,
Yeah. Weird choice, dog. Your body's mortal, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably more of a profession in Europe. Like all the Americans are like, yeah, we ski sometimes, and also I work in a restaurant. So that's, I feel like, the freeride culture here. Yeah, I'm a professional skier, but also I teach ski school, and I'm a waitress. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, fantastic. One last completely off the Richter question. Actually, another question out of left field for people who don't play baseball. Sorry for that reference. Rocky Horror Picture Show. You're a fan.
I am.
How are you?
Well, I am gay, so it's actually legally mandated that you like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You sign a little paper. It's really official. I've got a little certificate. I love Rocky Horror. I remember the first time watching it and I was like, oh my God, this is what an adult can be. You can do anything. You can be a slut and super weird and give no Fs. I signed up there was like a random poster on my campus, like seeking new Rocky Horror cast. And I was like, oh, that looks fun. I've always wanted to do that. And then it was the sickest thing I've ever done. I got to do like a live shadow cast Rocky Horror and play Frankfurter, who's, like the how to do it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Tim Curry. Love Tim Curry. Just absolute icon. That was sick. Just a lot of weirdo queer kids just being super slutty.
Was this in Berkeley or?
Yeah,
obviously in Berkeley. No, it's in Truckee.
The first Rocky Horror I ever saw was in my hometown, actually, in Tahoe City, which was eye-opening. And
awesome,
I was like,
okay.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of queer culture here. But yeah, this was in Berkeley, the Transylvanian Temptations cast. They're going to be performing at the Emeryville Theater in Berkeley. They built us a stage. So we're going to do bi-weekly performances. We as in them. I'm not going to be there. Maybe I'll come and guest for one of them, but
do some guest performances.
Yeah,
Nice.
some guest sluttery. Yeah, I had to learn how to like dance in 6-inch heels, which was really hard. But now I can twerk in 6-inch heels. So life skill achieved.
Awesome. Yeah. For us, it used to be Friday nights at midnight. I can't remember which theater it was in, but in Newport Beach, behind the orange curtain. So there you go, even in the most conservative areas.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was fantastic, though.
Oh, that's so cool. My grandmother came to like a midnight show, and she's like, I'm gonna drink a bunch of coffee. I'm gonna stay awake, and she brought my uncle. And I felt a little weird. Yeah, I was in like full drag and lingerie, just like sexing it up on the stage, and my grandma was there. I was like, this is a weird relationship that we've established for ourselves. But my uncle knew all the callbacks, and he was like yelling at us, the audience participation. I was like, oh my, go off, Uncle Brandon.
Course,
yeah. Cool. Good bonding. A toast. Yeah, he tried to bring rice into the theater. I had to be like, no, we don't do that anymore. That's specifically banned. Yeah,
is it really?
Yeah, you're not allowed to do rice. The theaters decided it was too much cleanup. Great move on their part.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Still have the squirt guns though?
You can. They try. We've tried to tell people not to bring them. We gave out like bubbles and non-food items that wouldn't rot if left uncleaned up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but highly recommend. Great family bonding activity. Go get dressed up really slutty with your parents and go to Rocky Horror together. You'll get closer for sure.
Okay, well, I had a question. What's something that no one knows about Lily Bradley that you'd like us to know? I think we've covered pretty much all the bases, but in case there's anything out there.
Anything that anyone doesn't know about me. I know you even gave me this prepped in the interview and in the paper, and I didn't even think about it. I feel like that's when somebody's like, tell me a secret you've never told anyone. And I'm like, no. Obviously, there's secrets for a reason. I'm not going to tell you.
No, it's all good. We don't have to go there.
Oh, okay, here's something no one knows about me. There we go. When I was a child, I used to pick my boogers and I would eat them. And sometimes I still eat Play-Doh. Those are two things no one knows about me.
Fantastic. Well, Lily Bradley, I think we're going to end it right there. That's a fantastic final answer. Thank you for coming on the podcast. No Fall Zone, the Freeride World Tour, and the Freeride World Tour riders in all their glory. There we go. That's it for episode number 2. Lily Bradley, once again, thank you very much. Have a fantastic second season on tour. Best of luck. I hope you win plenty of events and have a great time in Verbier.
Sweet. Thank you so much for having me.